Shopify grows your business no matter how far or big you grow. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're selling your fans' next favorite shirt or an exclusive piece of podcast merch, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Allbirds, Rothy's, Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in.
You can save every day by shopping at Whole Foods Market. Seriously, don't just go for the big sales. Walk the store and see the savings for yourself. In the seafood department, look for the yellow low price sign on Whole Foods Market Responsibly Farmed salmon. This fish is perfect for the grill. Buttery, fatty, yet lean, nice thick fillets. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it, and I know I can get it at a great price. There's so many ways to save at Whole Foods Market. Now you know.
This content may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion advised.
Terrifying tales of horror, thrilling depictions of your worst nightmares that keep you up at night. This is No Sleep, an all-new Patreon exclusive coming to Disturbed, where we bring the scariest accounts from r/No Sleep to life. This episode is just a sneak peek, but if you like what you hear, become a patron to get even more of this exclusive bonus content as it comes out. First, a story written by Blair Daniels. I'm trapped in an infinite suburb.
I think we're lost. I edged the car along, looking for Rosebud Lane, but all I saw were rows and rows of the same cookie-cutter suburban house, crammed in next to each other, going on forever. Sighing, I pulled over at the curb. Can you check the GPS?
Sure.
As he pulled out his phone, I stared out the windshield. Even though it was a sunny, beautiful day, the neighborhood was a ghost town. Nobody walking their dog on the sidewalk, no kids playing in the street. I glanced around at all the houses, and though it was hard to tell from the reflections on the windows, it looked like the curtains were drawn. Dave sighed next to me.
I don't think this is right.
What do you mean? He handed me the phone. The app showed our location in the middle of the woods. I zoomed out a bit, but no suburb showed up.
Whoa, that's weird.
I pulled out my phone, but the same thing happened. Little blue dot in the middle of the woods. The closest road was the 2-lane highway we'd pulled off of.
I guess this is a really new development.
Google Maps was almost always accurate, but if the houses had just been built, maybe the software hadn't caught up yet. They certainly looked very new. Overlapping gables, big windows with no shutters, all neutral colors. The grass perfect without muddy tracks from dogs or kids. White siding so crisp and pristine, it almost glowed. The windows shiny as a mirror. I hated that sterile, almost uncanny look of new houses. Like they'd just been copied and pasted out of a video game and plopped down in the earth. No personal touches, no wear and tear, no character, just sterile and empty and perfect. Maybe you should call Megan, I said. Dave glanced at the clock.
I don't want to interrupt the shower.
Yeah, but we're lost and the GPS isn't working. He sighed.
If we don't find it in 10 minutes, I'll call her.
That was Dave for you. Always thinking of others. Which was nice, of course, until it got to these kinds of things. He'd rather waste our time driving around aimlessly than give Megan a quick call for fear of being rude. It was always like that with him. But whatever. They say pick your fights, and this wasn't important enough to go to battle over. I continued crawling down the street past more and more identical houses, but just as I was thinking maybe I should force him to call Megan, that this was a fight worth choosing, I saw it. A turn up ahead. I sped towards the intersection, hoping the little green sign said Rosebud Lane, but as we got closer, my stomach dropped. What the hell? It was blank. It was just a green rectangle of metal. No text on it whatsoever.
Wow, someone fucked up.
Dave laughed.
They had one job.
Do you think I should turn?
Wait, let me pull up the GPS.
The car idled on the corner as I waited for Dave to pull out his phone.
No, it's still in the woods. I guess turn on it, yeah.
I flicked on my blinker and turned onto the unnamed street. More cookie-cutter houses with curtained windows, all painted a perfectly neutral beige with white trim. Even the front lawns looked identical. 3 shrubs along the porch and a big hydrangea on the garage end. There were no cars in the driveways either, just like the previous street. I wonder if they're so new some of them haven't even been moved into, just standing empty. For some reason, the thought sent a chill down my spine. How weird would it be to live in this neighborhood surrounded by empty houses? Ugh, I'd hate to live here, I muttered.
It'd be nice to have something brand new, though, not having everything break all the time.
But every single house looks exactly the same, I shook my head. I bet they have a super strict HOA.
Probably.
We continued up the road. It seemed like the houses stretched into infinity, disappearing into the light fog. What was it again? Number 52?
Yep.
I slowed the car down, looking for mailboxes so I could check the house numbers. But the houses didn't have mailboxes. I guess they must have one of those communal ones, I thought, like apartments and townhouses have. But the houses didn't have numbers on the front doors or the porches either. So weird. We continued driving, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. Identical houses extending to infinity, like someone had just copied and pasted them onto a computer screen. I let out a sigh and stared out at the road, looking for signs of life, individuality, anything. And then, finally, through the gloom and mist, I saw a smudge of color, a stop sign. Oh, good. We'll see what street we're on, I said. But as we approached, my stomach twisted, my heart pounded in my chest. There wasn't an intersection, or even a crosswalk. There was no actual reason for cars to stop. Yet the stop sign was still there, and there was another one on the other side of the road telling cars in the oncoming direction to stop too. There's no reason for a stop sign to be here.
Maybe it's like an accessibility thing? Like the person who owns that house is blind, so everyone needs to stop here so they don't hit them?
Does that kind of thing even exist? I mean, great if it does, but I've never seen that. He shrugged. I think we should turn around.
Let's just continue a little bit.
Dave replied.
In like 5 minutes, if we don't find it, we'll turn around.
I don't know why I listened to him. I guess it's because logically, I knew there wasn't much risk to driving around some weird neighborhood. It wasn't like we were wandering around in the middle of the woods where we would get lost or die of dehydration or get eaten by a bear. It was 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and we were driving around a suburban road. But the instinctual part of myself, the part that evolved over hundreds of thousands of years that prevented humans from going extinct long ago, was screaming, there is something wrong here, get out now! I drove forward, glancing in the rearview mirror. The stop sign lingered there, its bright red almost unnatural against the gray gloom of the sky. Over the next few minutes, we didn't get any closer to finding Megan's house. There were no street signs, no mailboxes, no indication of where we were going. Even the car's compass seemed messed up, as it switched from north to west a few times, even though we appeared to be going in a straight line. I finally pulled over to the side of the road and pulled out my phone.
I'm just gonna call Megan.
Dave said finally, breaking the silence. Thank you, I snapped back, unable to keep the annoyance out of my voice. After a moment, Dave shook his head.
Not picking up.
All right, let's just go home.
But we told her we'd be there.
I sighed and stared at him. Okay, so what do you want me to do? We're lost. GPS isn't working and she isn't picking up. He paused, glancing around.
Maybe we should ask somebody.
Who? There's no one here.
Maybe knock on a door?
My eyes widened. That's weird.
Look, let's just knock on a door and ask. If they don't answer, we'll give up and go home.
Fine. I pulled over to the curb. We got out and started up the driveway. It was no longer bright and sunny. The sky was a uniform overcast gray, and the place was so quiet. No voices, no cars passing by, no dogs barking, just our footsteps on the pavement. We walked up to the front door. When I didn't see a doorbell, I raised a fist to knock. No footsteps or barking from inside. I don't think anyone's home, I told Dave.
Just wait for a second.
The address is definitely 52 Rosebud Lane, right?
I'm like 99% positive, but I'll check.
Dave pulled out his phone and scrolled.
Yep.
A minute went by. I knocked one more time. Then I leaned over and peered through one of the windows next to the door. Wait, what? The layout of the house was really weird. The staircase was plopped in the middle of the foyer with empty space on either side. Beyond it, in the kitchen, there was a floor-to-ceiling tower of cabinets, not connected to a counter or anything, just there. There was a painting on the wall of a woman standing on a rainy city street, but her eyes were drawn in, upside down. What the hell? It felt like I was looking at an AI-generated image. Something made by a machine trying to replicate what a house was supposed to look like inside, without any understanding of the function of stairs or cabinets or human behavior at all. Look, I said, motioning Dave over. But he didn't share my sense of unease. Instead, he laughed.
Wow, whoever designed these houses was an idiot.
He whispered. Can we go now?
Yeah, okay.
We headed back towards the car. As I walked around to the driver's side, though, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck prickle, the familiar feeling of being watched. I whipped around, but all I saw was a row of beige houses staring down at me with their dark, shiny windows. We should be there by now.
You must have just passed it up.
Dave replied. No, we didn't. It was almost 2 p.m. now. My stomach grumbled. My shoulders hurt. I just wanted to be back home, curled up under a blanket, watching YouTube, drinking tea. We only made one turn, but somehow, retracing our steps, we hadn't intersected it yet. We hadn't even passed the weird stop sign. Nothing looked familiar, although of course everything looked familiar because all the houses were the same house.
It must just be up a little further.
I just want to be home, I whined. But a few minutes later, we passed something that we definitely didn't see on the way in. A house that was different. It was on the left side of the road. Everything about it was identical to the other houses, except for the porch railing. It was installed upside down, bolted into the underside of the roof, the banister at eye level. What the hell? I asked, slowing down the car. We both stared at the house. No builder or designer would make that kind of mistake, would they? A few houses down, there was another house that was different. This time on the right, 2 of the windows had been connected into one long 15-foot tall window that extended from the ground to the roof.
What the fuck?
This isn't right, I replied, my heart pounding in my chest. And then I saw it. Just a few houses ahead of us was a mailbox. The only mailbox I'd seen on the street. And in small gold lettering were the words, 52 Rosebud Lane. Attached to the mailbox was a single pink balloon fluttering in the wind. No, There's no way. It's not... It doesn't make sense. There were no cars parked on the road, no voices or music coming from inside, no indication that there was a party going on, except for that one balloon.
I'm calling Megan.
The phone trilled in his ear, and then she picked up.
Dave, where are you guys?
We're a little lost. We're in this development and...
He paused.
Do you have a pink balloon on the mailbox?
No.
She said, confused.
It's the blue house on the hill at the end of the cul-de-sac. Did you turn on Mountain Avenue? It's a little hard to get here.
She continued on, but I wasn't listening. I was staring at the house, specifically at the upstairs window, where a figure stood in the darkness, watching us. I started the car and made a U-turn, tires screeching against the pavement. Dave turned to me, eyes wide. Someone's watching us from that house. I stomped on the accelerator, the car rocketing down the suburban road.
Slow down!
Dave shouted. I glanced down. I was going 40. We have to get out of here.
You're gonna crash, damn it! Slow down!
But I did have to slow down, because up ahead, materializing out of the fog, was a stop sign. This time, a crosswalk, and a cluster of school children crossing the road. I stomped on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt. Dave and I jerked forward, the seatbelts locking us into place. My heart pounded in my chest. Then, I looked up, and all the muscles in my body froze. It wasn't a group of school children. It was an amalgamation of arms and legs, backpacks and sneakers, tousled hair and ponytails, put together like some nightmarish jigsaw puzzle. No faces, no eyes, just things that gave the illusion of a normal group of children crossing the street. I stared at the monstrosity 20 feet in front of us, partially veiled by fog. And then I switched the car into reverse.
What the fuck?
Call 911, I screamed at Dave. Now! We careened past the upside-down railing, the 15-foot window, the pink balloon. As we sped by, the houses got stranger and stranger. Chimneys leading up to the sky, floating gables, hardwood floors that spilled out onto the grass.
They say they can't trace our location.
Dave shouted. Then, I don't know. Tell them to go to the highway, Route 140, turn at Glenmount Road, and then make a right at the subdivision. He relayed that to them, but my heart was pounding. If we hadn't been able to retrace our steps, if they couldn't track our location, how would they find us? I slowed down slightly, glancing around the street, looking for something, anything that I recognized. But all I saw were the windows. The curtains wide open in every single one, and people staring down at us. Although people was a stretch. Everything about them was wrong. Their faces had all the wrong proportions, stretched and mishappen. Their eyes were set in upside down. They had far too many hands. People that looked like they had been crafted by some horrible computer AI, just like the houses they lived in. It's now almost 10 p.m. The sky should be dark, but it isn't. The same overcast gray color. We've made so many U-turns, I've lost count, back and forth, back and forth. But it's never the same. The houses, the people, always different. Like the world is generating just for us, each time we drive down it, popping in and out of existence. The police called us. They tried locating us again and again, but every time they failed. They insisted there were only acres and acres of forest where we described our location. I've used my phone to try to get other help. My parents tried to find us too. Nothing has worked. I only have 10% battery left. So I'm recording this in hopes that maybe someone, somewhere knows how to escape this place. Maybe we'll finally get out. I'm so hungry. I'm so tired. All I want to do is stop the car and lie back in my seat, drift off to sleep. But I'm afraid if I do that, they'll get us. The not people in the houses. They're learning. With each hour, they look more human, more like us. And they're getting bolder. I see children standing on the front lawn, still as statues. Women standing on the sidewalk with faces that almost pass for human. Men crossing the street in front of us. Whenever we drive by, they all start moving in our direction. Like we're magnetic, a homing beacon. Dave is driving now, so I can post this. Maybe I'll take a short nap. For a brief moment, I won't be trapped anymore. I'll dream of being home, curled up with a cup of tea, watching TV with Dave. I'll escape this place, if only for an hour. I'm gonna go. Hopefully someone out there, somewhere, knows how we can escape. And if not, I'll have my dreams to comfort me for a little while.
You're listening to Disturbed. We'll be right back.
You can save every day by shopping at Whole Foods Market. Seriously, don't just go for the big sales. Walk the store and see the savings for yourself. In the seafood department, look for the yellow low price sign on Whole Foods Market Responsibly Farmed salmon. This fish is perfect for the grill. Buttery, fatty, yet lean, nice thick fillets. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it, and I know I can get it at a great price. There's so many ways to save at Whole Foods Market. Now you know.
Families have a lot going on. Let Ollie help manage the mental load with new cognitive help supplements for everyone 4 and up, like delicious Lolly Focus Pops or Lolly Mellow Pops for kids. And for parents, try 3 new Brainy Chews to help you focus, chill out, or get energized. Find these cognitive health buddies for the whole fam at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Welcome back to the podcast. Our final story on this episode of No Sleep is written by Reddit user The Eagle Strikes. My wife is lurking in my childhood photos, but I met her at the age of 30.
My wife is lurking in my childhood photos, but I met her at the age of 30. And she looks no younger in the old pictures. Sometimes I feel as if my life has been nothing but an ever-revolving door of grief. I'm only 34 years old, and I've lost everyone to death, rejection, or diverging paths. My parents, my sister, my childhood friends, and countless other loved ones. I feel numb, directionless. Above all else, I feel angry. I hate the world for taking them from me. I hate life for dealing cards from a rotten deck. My mother passed last year. She'd been fighting a lengthy battle with dementia since 2019. I didn't cry when she died. I had nothing left in the tank. I'd already endured small, painful pinches of grief over the years. I grieved whenever she lost a piece of herself. I grieved for every one of us that she forgot, whilst there were still those of us left to forget. Those 4 years fragmented me. Mom and I were so close, and it broke my heart to see her very soul disintegrate. She was my only remaining family. My dad and my sister died when I was young, and slowly everyone else vanished too. I can't explain it, but in spite of her deterioration, I think my mom held on to life for me. "I worry, Brennan," my mother hazily said. "You're safe, Mom," I said. "You don't need to..." "No, I worry about Brennan," she interjected in a fluster. "I'm Brennan, Mom, and I'm fine," I said, sighing. "I worry," she absent-mindedly whispered. When my mother died in February 2023, I was left with one person in the entire world, Olivia. I counted my blessings to have a darling wife who would always be by my side. Until I realized how terribly true that might be. Whilst I was clearing out my mother's attic, I found a box of photo albums, dust-coated antiques that I'd never seen before. Too many painful memories, perhaps. But a tinge of warmth spread through my body as I eagerly flicked through the pages. A fuzzy, forgotten feeling. I remembered being happy as a child. I was surrounded by family and friends. I lovingly tore through the pages, and I was moments away from shouting for my wife to come up to the attic. But then I noticed something bizarre. Olivia was standing in the back of a photo. It was a picture of a day at the zoo with my parents and my sister. Through metal bars at the opposite side of the lion enclosure, I could see my wife standing there. Someone I didn't know as a child, but it was her. There was no doubt about that. Distinctive black hair, fair complexion, and petite physique. She wore a thin, knowing smile that seemed unbefitting of her, or any version of Olivia that I'd seen before. My stomach gurgled nervously, but I smiled and laughed it off. Uncanny, I whispered to myself. Obviously, it couldn't have been her, I told myself. We're the same age, and she would have been a child at the time. It's just a doppelganger. I carried on, flicking through the pages, and then a lump formed at the surface of my throat. My wife appeared again. This time, it was a photo of our family's Christmas gathering in a restaurant. And outside the window, beneath a smoking shelter, a solitary figure stood and watched us. It was Olivia, or a woman who, yet again, looked identical to my 33-year-old wife. Once is nothing. Twice is a coincidence. I frantically tore through the photo album as sweat collected in thick, icy trails on my colorless cheeks. Olivia was in every photo, and she looked no different from the present day. The same woman, always lurking somewhere in the background, discreetly watching, ever wearing that foul grin. My heart thumped unsteadily. This was no longer an oddity, a funny peculiarity. It was unsettling enough to see evidence of a person stalking my family, but a person who hadn't aged in 33 years? It was sinister. It defied everything my logical brain knew to be true. I found myself trembling in terror and clawing at my hair. I had stopped turning pages. After seeing my wife skulking in dozens of pictures, I hadn't the stomach to continue. But I couldn't tear my eyes off the page before me. It was a photo captioned, "Yummy Cake, Brennan's 10th birthday party." I was sitting in the back garden on an overcast day. A decadent chocolate cake sat on my lap. My jubilant friends and family surrounded me. I was midway through blowing out 10 candles, and the flames leaned away from my pursed lips. There she was again, hiding in a photo from the year 2000. Olivia would have been 10 years old, just like me, and yet the camera told another tale. This time, my fully grown wife cowered behind the short fence at the rear of our property. But the top of her head peered into our garden, and I could distinguish her distinctive black hair. Her eyes were bloodshot and thirsty. She was, perhaps most hauntingly, eyeing the camera. It felt as if she could see me in the attic. "You're losing your mind, Brennan," I thought, eyes still unable to look away. "This isn't real. It's all in your..." A sudden wisp of wind extinguished the attic light. My body shivered uncontrollably, and I found myself wrestling with an undeniable thought. It sounded like lips blowing air. Trying to steady my breathing, I anxiously patted the floor of the blackened attic. I wish I wouldn't leave my phone in stupid places, I thought. I wanted to leave, but I didn't trust myself to maneuver through my mother's cluttered attic in the dark. and then my fingers brushed over a familiar smooth surface. Gotcha, I thought, before picking up my phone and turning on the flashlight. I screamed. The birthday photo had changed. The candles on my cake were gone, and I was sitting all alone. No family, no friends, nobody. Not even Olivia. I stumbled to my feet and dropped the book. The floorboards moaned as I shifted my weight backwards. I had to get far from that cursed book, that cursed attic. I twisted to run for the attic door, but I didn't move beyond the first step. My flashlight illuminated something horrifying. Poking her head through the attic opening, Olivia smiled at me. Her eyes mirrored those in the numerous photographs I had just seen. Her pupils seemed darker, wider. Red veins painted the corners, and her eyes rippled ever so slightly, as if they were not really eyes at all. I don't know what happened to the woman I married, but that wasn't who eyed me from the attic door. She was a horror. Some rabid mouse that had soundlessly slithered up the stairs and the ladder.
I'll eat you from the inside out.
And then the woman plummeted through the attic door, disappearing from sight. Thinking only of escaping, I lunged for the open door, but something seized my ankle, chaining me to the attic. I spun to face my shackle, and my mouth parted in wordless terror. From the open page of the photo album, Olivia's twisted arm and face had emerged. She offered a toothy grin and unhinged eyes as she attempted to pull me into the picture.
Bile, so rich, and with our consummation, it becomes complete.
I cried in agony as I was dragged to hell by the thing that I had loved for 3 years. A hellish demon I had believed to be my wife. But it seemed I truly had nobody left. Nothing but a cancerous tumor clinging to my very essence. It was draining the last of my pain, the last of my suffering. I closed my eyes and thought of my loved ones. The loved ones I was certain I would shortly see again. As the terrifying demonic limb pulled my leg into the photo album, I prepared to meet whatever fate awaited. All of that anger, the years spent in a perpetual psychological nightmare, for nothing. I visualized my mother's smiling face, and a calmness swept through my mind. I worry about Brennan, she said. I started to fib before deciding to unburden the weight on my chest. No, I'm not fine, Mum. But I will be. Suddenly, the hissing ceased. All sounds ceased. And when I opened my eyes, my wretched wife was gone. My ankle was no longer merging with the laminated plastic, but it throbbed painfully. The bottom of my trouser leg bore claw-shaped tears, and it was stained with fresh blood. To be certain the entity had vanished, I cast my phone light onto the book, and the picture of my 10th birthday had returned to normal. I wasn't alone. I was surrounded by friends and family. Nothing could destroy that memory in my mind, but I shuddered as I turned the pages of the book. My smiling wife was still lurking in the photographs. I fled the house and haven't looked back. It's been over a year, and I don't fear the memories anymore. I'm moving forward. I'm learning to love again. I'm learning to open myself to new people and new memories. But I still fear loss. After all, that horrifying woman waits for me. I know she does. I fear the day that I notice her in a new photo.
This has been No Sleep, a production of the Disturbed True Horror team at Killer Podcasts. Special thanks to our narrators, Gregory James and Catherine Restivo. Our producers are Noah Fouts and Elizabeth Flood. Audio engineer Nathan Corson. Music design by Noah Fouts. Sound design by Nathan Corson. I've been your host, Doug Bailey. Thanks for listening, and remember, stay safe out there.
History is complicated. The story of human progress is long, messy, and riddled with controversies big and small. On Conflicted, we dive headfirst into history's most infamous events and contentious figures. We try and untangle the good from the bad, the fact from the fiction, and the monsters from the misunderstood. Was Genghis Khan a murderous butcher or a civic pioneer? Did the Allied powers go too far in firebombing the German city of Dresden at the twilight of World War II? And how did the Marquis de Sade acquire such a sinister reputation? And was any of it true? These are just a few of the tough questions we wrestle with and investigate on Conflicted. So if you love history or just enjoy a good story, please join me, your host, Zach Cornwell, for a fascinating new topic each and every month. Conflicted, a history podcast, is available on Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you get your podcasts. I hope to see you soon.